This is a 1971 Plymouth Satellite. It's an original FC7 in violet, purple, white interior, 383 big block. It was a 2-barrel originally. 8 1/4 rear end, don't know the gear ratio yet. 727 bucket seats with buddy seat. We'll show you all this in a bit. Rally gauges. We're going to restore it. Some of you, many of you that are watching now have been following for the last few years our 1972 Plymouth Duster. Green on green on green on green. Grandma's slant 6 car turned into, well, will be a V8 of some sort, 360, 340, not sure yet, we're still in limbo about that. But we've been doing a full absolute rebuild on that car. As you see here, a lot of stuff's went on with that one. Now this Satellite here, it looks rougher than that car, that 72 Duster, but best I could figure, it's not nearly as bad. It is not bad at all. I mean, it's got some kind of funky areas that we need to fix, and I'll show you that also. I mean, we'll go over the car here. But I think it's going to be a much easier restoration as far as cutting and welding and all this kind of sheet metal stuff. Now, it being the intermediate size car, there's a little bit more features on these than there would be the lowly A-body Duster. For instance, on Dusters, you don't have a panel under here, and you don't have the extra headlight set there, and you've got a lot of extra little nuances and panels on this car that you don't have in the other car, so that makes a little bit more work, a little bit more time, more fasteners, more organization, and so on and so forth, lining it up when you're ready to go. So there's a lot to do with this car in its own right, but as far as I think the cutting and welding, it's going to be at a minimum. Not to say that those minimal things are going to be easy. They're going to be, one in particular is going to be quite challenging, and that's one of the first things we'll have in order, and it'll be on one of the upcoming episodes. So make sure you like and subscribe and then get your notifications on. That way you will see that happen here and probably in a few weeks. So as you can see, 71 Satellite Sebring Plus. Plus was the luxurious version. Had stuff like rally gauges. I guess the option for the big block was there on that one, and some other little creature comforts, maybe nicer road wheels, things like that. These are actually Ford wheels, like the 500 style wheels. And the Fords always have this wide flat band in here. That's how you can usually tell those. They do fit on the Mopars, but those were not original in this car in particular. We do have a white or off-white interior. It has the 2 bucket seats, which are obviously they slide independently, but you also have the buddy seat. That's kind of rare in these cars, and that's a nice little thing to have. Being a Sebring Plus, you get things like rally gauges, which is cool. You don't have a tack or anything, just the basic rally gauge combo. And then you have an uncut AM radio, still intact. Another thing with the Sebring Plus, you get those style door panels with the little coin. The coin has like a griffin. I can reach this one over here. That was like the top of the line. The GTX also had that. So the GTX is top of the line muscle car. The Sebring Plus was the top of the line, just road car. So there's your slight difference. They was kind of their equals, but one was high performance. So there's that little coin. These are kind of hard to come by. I don't know if they make those new. But that's the coin. The Chargers had like a similar spot here, and it had the Charger emblem on it. So that's what the Satellite Sebring Plus and GTX door panel is like. There was different ones for the regular Satellite, the Roadrunner, a couple different ones that they went with depending on how you had your Roadrunner option. And that's kind of how they base the interiors on some of those. So you notice the back seat is not present. The V-braces that hold everything together back there is not present, and this shelf has been bent up. Well, somebody must have used this as a truck decades ago. So they removed those, bent this up, made a little bit more room, and I guess they hold boards or something with it. I don't know. But either way, we have to fix that, and we have a set of donors here from a 72 Roadrunner that our buddy at RT's Mopar Salvage, Kyle, had a really rotten 72 parts car, and we got these from that. We got some disc brakes from it, sway bar, rear sway bar, bunch of other cool stuff, and we also got this cowl panel here, which I have since extracted. That was a job, and it's not the whole panel, we just the bad area that we need to replace on this car. And what I'm talking about is right here. Here's part of your cowl panel. See the holes that have developed over the years? Heavy pitting through there. Pretty bad. And it also intersects with the bottom of the A-pillar here on the side of the cowl. I have those sections as well. So our first major project on this car is to strip everything off the front, and we're going to replace it with that. That needs prepped, that needs ready to go, and we need to get the windshield out and remove the dash. It's going to be a big project, but it's going to be one of the first big projects that we do on this car outside of taking the stuff off of the front, and that's going to be pretty much our first endeavor today on this car. And to cover a few more things as far as the history of this car, it apparently came out of California originally, sometime between the early 70s and maybe 10 years ago. It ended up in Iowa in lost storage, abandoned lost storage, so there was no keys, no title. The owners took possession of the car, sold it to our buddy Ryan Barsness. He has his own channel. Some of you might be familiar with Ryan. He deals in a lot of B&E body cars, and this just happened to be one of them he picked up. And he was thinking about fixing up, but he's got so many other potential projects. He picked one of those instead. Sold this car to Jim Bennett down in the Nashville, Tennessee area. Jim had his own YouTube channel as well, Jim Bennett's Hot Rod Garage. And unfortunately, Jim never got around to it because he had passed away. I believe it was in 2022. Car went back up for sale. It was offered back to Ryan at a discounted price. Ryan was full with his projects. He offered it to me, or told me about it, and we had a really good deal on this car. Came with the 383, a loose 383, 727, and an 8 3/4 rear axle differential. So it's a great deal. I wasn't going to pass it up. Plus, my wife's like, we need to get a pink or purple car, and this is an original purple one, so this is it. It's been in queue the last few years, and I'm excited to get it going because we are kind of at a stalemate on this car. We have a few things in the works right now, but not enough to really keep us motivated. So we're going to get in this car, get some things fixed, get it ahead of the pack a little bit. I like to put the bolts back in to an assembly of any sort. So cars like these, it's not proper, but I always feel like the bigger pieces you can take out, the better, and that'd be the Fender, but that's really not the case. You probably want to take all this smaller stuff, more intricate stuff back in here. So we're gonna have to pull the grill out, and it exposes you to a lot of the inner workings, just how things are tied together here. So let's take out the grill. All right, so the headlight housings or bezels, they came out pretty good. You have a few different size screws. Most of the longer ones go along the bottom, shorter ones go along the top. Got both of those, keep all that stuff together. We want to remove the center grill section here, and it's been a while since I had to fool with one of these. Probably about 20 years since I actually dealt with it. Our buddy's 72 had the same grill in it for a standard Satellite, but you have a couple of these little push clips like this, and those, where this has an ear, the grill has an ear that sits on top of this metal bracket up here, okay? That pushes down from the top, so it kind of sits in there like so, pushes down. You have to pop it out. You have one there, you have one there, and then the hardest one to get, I think, is this one right behind the emblem in the middle. And what I like to do on those, I have my tool here, take a small set of pliers, and where this is poking through here, I'll simply squeeze it, and it kind of pinches it a little bit. And then you could take a tool like this and really make sure you're getting it between this and the grill section, and just kind of work it and wiggle it around different angles. Don't stick it under the grill piece itself and try to do it, because then you'll bust the grill and you'll have an ear that you have to glue back on or replace the grill depending on what else you got going on there. So we got those, and then I took these 3 screws. They're shorter off of here. So 1, 2, and 3. And I believe that opens this up now. So there is our center section of the grill. So I'm going to put all the grill hardware together, move all this other junk out of the way, or get all hardware, keep all this together, and then we can put it all in a box, separate everything. Everything's together there. So I'm working on loosening the bumper up. Even though I may not take it out directly, I would like to get it separated from the body, and then anything else that could be kind of holding it or clamping it in place by the shape of itself, I would like to be able to move it out that way and have it ready to go. So you have a couple of bolts on each side for the frame rail right here. So there's one there where that hole is, oval hole, and there's one right up here. And they are pretty large size bolts. I use an impact on them after soaking them and putting some heat on them. And you have the same thing on both sides there, okay? So those are loose. You also have 2 straps on the sides next to the headlights. So I loosened that one, took it out there in the center of the screen. And then symmetrically, mirror image, you have one right there as well. You also have one right here that I took out. It's kind of off this brace, off the center bracket. Then you have these 2 right here. That will help separate the whole thing. I'm going to take these 2 off next. Sometimes even with the valance in place, you can spin them out and it'll simply back it off of the fitting there. It'll disconnect it and then you can work it away, then the bolts will fall out. I might try that and see if it will kind of walk out of there. But if not, I'm thinking I'll probably have to take the header panel. There's a couple, 3 screws here, 2 or 3 screws there. And then you have part of the substructure here that's holding all this together. I would imagine that would be what kind of holds it. It's been a long time since I took one of these apart, and I can't remember really how we did it. I actually think we took it apart in just little pieces, just kind of piecemealed it. That's a little too much. I think you should try to figure out, take out chunks at a time. Now the grill, the lower grill, I should say, got 3 screws along the bottom, 2 screws along the top. So 1 here, 1 here, and then the other 3 are from the back side. You can use a nut driver on those here. If this support's still in the way, you probably have to use a little ratchet. So we got that out. This one happened to have been broken already, so we'll have to extract all that. But at least it's all intact. We could fix that. And then get the old hood latch out of the way. And there we go. Put those out of the way, put the hardware with it, get in the theme there. And I think that's that on that. We'll kind of slowly working towards moving the bumper out. I have almost everything unbuttoned there. There's 2 large bolts inside of there on the bumper brackets. I'm taking the brackets from the frame. And then you have 1 on each side here. 1 over there. You got 1 up here. A couple down there. And it's all like part of this bracket right here. And then this bracket right here. That's what those are attached to. You can see the hole here. And then there's 2 holes right there in the chrome part. So I'm going to fiddle with this a little bit more and see if I could remember, or at least figure out, how to slip that out of there. I'm thinking either the header panel might have to be removed, or the valance, this panel right here, will have to be removed. One way or the other, we're going to work on it and get to it. You also got these guys, I kind of call them eyeliners. I guess that's what they are. Fits around the double headlights. There's a few screws, and you just pop them out. They're kind of a plastic ABS, I guess. So that'll open up to a lot of areas. One of them could be the valance. If we have to take that valance off to get this bumper out, well, back in here, see there is a bolt, and then there's 2 more down in there, which is basically along the line of this seam right here. And you can, if you got small hands like me, you can get down in there and probably take a small ratchet and get those loose. So there's a little tip for you. Makes it a little bit easier. So that came out okay. This probably could have been a little looser. I had to slightly force it out. I went left and right where it opened up into this dip here, and then go back, and then it popped out that way. If you want to do it without that kind of hassle, take this panel off. You have a bolt on the inside of the frame rail stub here, one here, and that's the same side. You got one directly underneath that faces the ground in front of the radiator hole, and then you have 1, 2, 3 that holds it to the actual fender. 1, 2, 3, but then you have a panel right here and right there. You see those when you look inside the wheel well, looking this direction. You'll see it kind of looks like it's on a ramp. 2 bolts at the bottom, 2 bolts at the top on the back of the headlight bucket. Drop those out and you can access them a little easier. Those panels there are mainly to keep all the debris from accumulating up in all this intricate area. Although, over the years, the critters have gotten in here with their walnut shells and such. So those panels I was talking about right here, that's them, these guys. 2 bolts up there, 2 bolts down there. Unfortunately, the C-clips that retain that one broke on both of those, so they're spinning and I can't get a grasp on them. The 2 tops came out as far as the bolts. And in here, this one came out pretty good. So actually, this one is loose. And that's what it looks like out, okay? So, that frees up most of the valance here. You'll have a couple connections here, 2 bolts. And I think that's what we got holding it in place. And actually this one, even though it kind of goes off there up into the fender a little bit, it probably will drop down here and then the whole thing can drop out. Then we can take care of those bolts and separate them. But I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 bolts out and let's see what we have. I try to soak as much of these bolts as I can in the PB blaster. When I started, I shot about everything I figure I might be getting it taken off in the next few days. Let's see what we got here in a second. Disconnect this light. That one already was. Just a little pigtail, there we go. So there is the Valance. Here in a second. Okay, so we're going to take this header panel off next so that we can separate the fenders and all that. You got to do all this middle stuff first. So there's 3 bolts here, 3 bolts at that end. I want to take off this whole section with it. I don't want to just separate all this piecemeal. So best thing to do is take off the nut here, nut there, and then this whole yoke down through here. There are 2 bolts down there holding that into place. That way it can just come off as an assembly. All the bolts are pretty much intact. We'll take the 3 and stick them back in the fender. That way they don't get lost or misplaced. And then down the road, when you are ready, you can manage those projects without the overwhelming nature of just having everything blown apart. So you just have as much in sections as you can. So we have my nephew with us. And what's your name?
Zach Hamby.
Zach, so you got a YouTube channel. Tell us about your YouTube channel. Maybe some other people would be interested in some of your fabrication, kind of like what we do here.
Yeah, it's called Hamby Visual Studios. There I do blacksmithing. Right now I have 3 parts up. I'm making a medieval longsword. So I'll have some other stuff eventually, like photography type stuff, but that's primarily what I'm focusing on now is blacksmithing. So if you're interested, you can check it out. So
cool. All right, yeah, we'll check it out. We'll put a little card up here in the corner. You can click that give him a like and subscribe and see what he's all about over there. So we're going to get to work on this and see what we can do.
Wait, where are you gonna take this apart?
Oh, right here, and then there at the what do you think? Yeah.
I think that's good.
Nope. I had to stop him, but nothing happened. It's all fine. I didn't grab the sword, but there was a noise made. Let's just say that.
We have to rip out most of this wiring.
This one maybe. I haven't really looked at it. There are some spots where it's been either broke or clipped, but yeah, like the van has the original wiring all through that. The dash and the engine bay are original, but they were uncut. There wasn't a lot messed with. But one thing, the insulation does get dry in a lot of situations where dry rotted, and it was pretty flexible. Didn't have a lot of corrosion in it, if at all. This one has set for a long time and has some of these issues, so it's probably pretty bad. The engine harnesses are the best to replace because there's not as much of them. They do plug into the firewall. There's a couple strings that run around, and then you have light harnesses that either connect off of that or they connect to the side of them. So engine harnesses is always best to do those because they have all the heat over the years subjected to. The dash harnesses are, you want those to work too, but they're the most expensive because they're the most intricate. And yeah, you can get away with certain things. You just have to kind of be mindful of what you're fooling with. And yeah, this will probably get replaced. Since we're kind of going all out with this car, it will probably get everything fresh because it does have air conditioning. So you want that stuff to run good. There's got to be a lot of amps pulled. So you want fresh, clean wiring rather than old, crispy wiring. All right, so we got these loose, I think. Header panel and friends. So there's that. Well, we got the fender off, and unfortunately, we did it the wrong way. Yeah, well, no, we did it right, but yeah. Just make sure you go to his channel, okay? He's gonna help us probably with this down the road. But we got the fender off here, and one of our primary areas we're looking at is this. So I couldn't really see from here down because the fender looms over top of it. And it gives us a good chance to see all this. And there is a lot of scale, but it's not really that bad. There might be some holes that poke out when we get it media blasted, but it actually looks really good. We'll be able to take a pattern off of this and complete this, but this will go in here ultimately when we get all this stripped out. But we're gonna go ahead and get the other fender off. Now, here's all of our bolts. I just laid them on this side. You have all the bolts on this top rail, and then you have a nut back here. So you have that one. You'll have two nuts down here on studs. The studs will probably pull out with it. Make sure your splash shields, the plastic ones, are pulled out. They have a couple of screws. And then after you get this one and this one out, make sure you take this one with the bracket that stays with. It's a little bit smaller bolt. That'll come out. And then I can't show you on that side with a fender on it, but there is a bracket that bolts right here. You can either take where the bracket holds the fender on where my finger is, or just take these two bolts out. I honestly think it's easier to take these two bolts out and then wobble the fender around from the back side, and you can usually flip it right off. So we'll get the other side off, and then we'll be ready really to start stripping the rest of this out. We're gonna leave it on a roller front end here so we can move it around, and we'll probably get the windshield out. We'll have to adjust the dash to get it out of the way so that we can replace that panel. Oh, and don't forget your boy here on each side. That kind of fits to the outside of the wheel lip. Got one of them each side, just an extra brace. Don't forget it. Well, so that fender is off. Make sure you get your wiring loose there, because it kind of bind you up. I went ahead and took the hood hinges off. There's 3 bolts on each side. Make sure you get some PB blaster, some cowl, some liquid wrench, whatever. on those three from this backside, especially this one with the big block on it. Let's go over here where the light is, you know, I'll show you a little better. See that block right here? That is like a, it's kind of like a sandwich, a rust sandwich there. And especially if it has rotted, okay, you're gonna have some trouble there. So make sure you squirt it out real good and let it soak, put some heat on it, and then try it, because they will snap, okay? They will get very crusty and snap. Fortunately, it's not all puffed out here from that and rusty, so we're in good shape. That's very well preserved. Same thing over here. I'm very glad. I'm very pleased with that, because we have enough going on with that there. That's just bonus, not having that stuff rotten, okay? Everything looks pretty good over here. Just the scale, actually there's a pinhole. There's a scaly pinhole. So we'll probably have a little strip down there. We'll have to, by the time we're done with it, it's probably thin. And we'll probably have to put a little dog leg shaped strip there. That's kind of a common area. I think I said it earlier on the other side. A little bit of an issue. So yes, this is a tear down. We do need the front end off so we can expose this area, and this is the main thing. So I'm gonna do this car a little different from that one, where I completely took this car down to the bones and then started putting sheet metal back to it after it was blasted and everything. This car, it is not as bad. It will get media blasted more than likely. That's the plan. That's the plan. Don't hold me to it, but that's the plan. But I would like to get in here and fix this first, do the metal correctly, and then we can go from there, get the other areas fixed, and then anything after a blasting, we can take care of that if need be. But I just want to kind of get some stuff established, try to get the body up to solid before we really get into it. Just kind of a different approach. It's, you know, whatever works, make sure you can work around it the best way you can. Okay, so one reason I do these videos is to help other people if they are new to the projects, or they need a reminder. You know, sometimes I need to go back and look at stuff. But just really showing you a disassembly so it'll help you through it, so you can go through it as smoothly as possible. So we got the wipers removed. You saw me popping that little clip, and you have to swing it out of the way, because what it does is it captures the side of this little splined hub, and then so you have to slip it out of the way and then pry it from the backside, because it has springs in it which push it away, so that helps lift it off evenly, and you can pop them off of these splines. So put you some PB or some liquid wrench on there, and it helps slide it off a little better. You get both of those removed, and then you have a series of 3 bolts here, or screws, 3 there, and they look like this. You get those out, and you have this nut with built-in washer to remove that arm from back in here. So if you look, it was right there, okay? Pop that loose. Now that should, you might have to pry that off. It's been on there so long. And then you could take out the whole wiper assembly out of this cowl, and then you'll be ready for the next stage. I had originally thought to just take these 2 bolts out and go on the inside and get the last one, take these 3 out, and then the hinges come off with the door. But I think right now it's just easier for me to take the door loose here, which there's 2 bolts up here And there's 3 bolts down there that are accessible right from the outside. I have it latched right now. They are heavy, especially got the glass and all that stuff, and they're 5.5 feet long roughly. So I only have 1 bolt in it, and it's halfway, actually 2 bolts in it, halfway out. Let's see, let's do this bottom one first. All right, that's loose. Get this dude out of the way. Make sure I don't trip on it. Lift the handle. And there we go, the door is off. Don't want to scratch that car. Swing it over here and get out of the way. I'll do the other side next. Now we're at a point where I can take the windshield out. There was a piece of trim over here, and usually the trim is on these little steel clips. Well, I guess those had predominantly rusted away, so they used some kind of, butyl or glue or something and filled this channel up almost completely. And it was mostly stuck to that, so I had to take a knife and cut it out from this side and then that side. So I've taken the trim out inside of here all the way around, and like I said, you go through here and then you'll actually see it in some cases when you come through. See it moving the caulk right there. You don't have to go on the bottom because it is hard to get all the way down in there like that, but if you go around the sides and the top, that side down there, usually just peel it right out and push it forward. Now I'm not going to save this windshield. It is very scratched, very pitted. And there's some delamination in it, so I'd rather take it out in one piece though instead of bust it out, because then you get all the shards everywhere. Some people like to bust it out. Let's see if we can punch it out. I got most of it cut. There might be a couple spots there that are not. The rest of it will peel out. Plus, you gotta remember, this was very rusty down there, so it wasn't a lot holding it anyways because of the rust. It'll be on the windshield now. Rock it around a little bit. Snap it. There we go. Off it. All right, so we'll take a look. Hey, a comb. Needed one of them. There's our box. Yep. Right. The upper part's not bad, just at the corner of where it's exposed, where the old stainless piece of trim covered it. We'll want to clean all this off too, make sure that we're good up in there. It's not so much the big deal right now, since we are worried about this part of the cowl. This is kind of bad. Got into the dash frame a little bit, maybe not. We might be good there. It's a little bit of pitting that'll have to probably get filled after we blast it. Because that texture would show through any finish you put on top of it. I did notice here earlier, let me grab it, this piece of sealant they had in there. It was inside of the cowl after we took the wipers out, and it was kind of parked in there like this. Okay, well, it broke loose pretty easy, got out of there, but what it had done, it held water in that spot, and there's a hole. There's actually 2 holes there. So this back section of the cowl will have to get cut out, and that's going directly into the car. So any water would go in here, would go right down in on your feet. So that's not good. That'll have to be, when we cut this out, we'll have to replace that section in there. All right, so we cleaned up a lot of the gack and goop over the top of the windshield. See some kind of heavy pitting over there, down that. It's really bad over there in that corner, and it looks similar to this here. So what I want to do is I still need to get in here. So the panel, when you have it set out like this plane here with the holes in it is this plane here. So you can see where it wraps up in here. There's some fasteners, little mounds that go up, and that's what holds the dash in. So this panel here has to come out in cases your defrost vents, your speaker, It's got 3 screws there. It's got 2 screws each in these slots. And you take it out. There's the back side of it, underside of it. There's your old speaker that's pretty much seen its best days. And this right here, line it up a little bit. There's that mound here. Same thing here. So we need to pop these screws here. There's about, what, 4 of them? Looks like 4 of them. And that should loosen the dash up. Now we'll still have to drop or remove the steering column for this to be able to swing out. And you do have the screw. These are the pivots for the dash. You got one on this side, one on that side, and they set on top of the screw there, each side. And once everything is loose, it will pivot out. That's how they put them in the factory. Kind of hooked them on there, then they swung it up, screwed these in, plugged up all the wiring, and so on and so forth. All right, so you're going to have to drop steering column. If you're not familiar with that, you have a bolt there, or a nut rather, on a stud. And another one right there behind that white block, okay? Sometimes there's 2, one of them holds that ground wire. And you'll take those 2 down. You might have another one back here, yep, right there. And that's down. That's out of place right now. Sometimes that one's an actual screw. And then you'll want to take out that plate. See the plate there, the long, wide, kind of a triangular shape. There's a hole right there in the center. I've already taken those loose. One up there, there, and then there. So now this steering column, it's dropped down, but that's why you're seeing the holes in the firewall there. But pretty much ready. I just need to take the rest of the screws out up here. So loosen this out. Another one over here. And then you'll have some wiring. You want to disconnect the wiring. You might have to use a little push tab on it to open it. They might be old and brittle, so be careful with that. On the outside of the engine bay, I've already had this disconnected, but you have this coupler right here, and it will slip down on there. See how there's this like slot in it that goes all the way around? Well, it will be all the way down on there to where this hole will be even with this slot. You'll have to take a punch and knock the roll pin out completely. So oil it up really good, knock that out, and then you spray some liquid wrench or whatever on here, up underneath there. It'll reach in on there, and then you can kind of wiggle it off a little at a time. I have to pry it a little bit evenly, and then that'll pop out. Make sure you watch for your shift linkage, anything like that. You might want to disconnect that, and again on the wiring on the inside, and you should be good.
Action.
All right, so our HVAC box, it's a little different than that car. That's just a heater box, and that one's a little smaller. Well, this one's a little bigger because it not only has a heater core in it, but it has an evaporator in it. And usually these fan motors, blower motors, on an AC car typically installs and removes from this part of the car. You can take it out right here and right there and be done. Those, you gotta take the heater box out with it, and the whole thing comes out with it, okay? It's a little different, but as far as disassembly and removing it, we'll make sure that this that was fed through that there over to your controls is up here and with everything. We have a strap here. I'd like to take this one out so that the strap goes with the assembly. We can restore it all together. And then out here you have 4 nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 there, 2 there, and that'll release the box from the firewall. Now, I don't recollect whether you have to take this off first. It looks like it might just go with everything back through the hole. We'll see. I'll go ahead and loosen these 4 and then that strap in there, and we'll see if it lets me take it out all together. If not, it's no big deal. You got 3 nuts, take them off, the whole thing slips out. Here's your ground wire and here's your feed wire. Okay, so to finish up this video, there's a few other things I need to take care of before I repair the cowl up here. And it's anything that gets in the way of that repair. And the A-pillars down here have the chrome trim, the drip rail trim that goes along here. We already popped that off. It just kind of pries off in spots. Some of them come off really easy. Some of them are going to destroy themselves. It just depends on how on there it is. Those happen to destroy themselves, but they were pretty banged up anyway, so I'm not too broken-hearted about that. What I do need to take off is this weather strip rail and the weather stripping, because it gets into that area. I might have to cut and add a new piece of A-pillar, or at least section of it in. These usually they have a little bit of glue on them from the factory, but most of that has dried up. It's just basically friction fit in place at this point. So on these and most of them, you can just start to peel it out of that little spot there. Don't bend this little piece of garnish trim here. Once you get it out, it's pretty much just gonna pull out. You have this little piece of, it holds your, it's like a retainer for your window, keep it from rattling. Pull it all the way down here, and you'll have a couple of plastic clips. They might disintegrate, they might pop out like they should. I'll have to pull them out with some pliers. They're just those little nylon push pins, and that leaves basically a series of screws along this gutter. You take those out, and this might have to pop out a little bit, might be a little glued in, just depends. The other side popped right out. This will probably do the same. Make sure you keep the window holder and all of this together like we have been doing everything. Keep all the hardware with it, okay? That will conclude this episode of the Indiana Garage. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, because this is a brand new series. We're going to go through a whole series on restoring this car. Okay, we have a series on our 72 Plymouth Duster. It's been pretty successful, pretty helpful, I guess, to many of you people. So make sure you follow this one as well. It's going to be a fun ride. So thanks for watching the Indiana Garage.